Hi, everybody. Welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. So we're back here on the University of Virginia's website for Mormon studies. This is the David O. McKay diary excerpts. And you have all these excerpts that are organized by topic. I wish I had access to the entire thing. There's 121 volumes of his diaries. But with what we have here, there's quite a bit to look at. There's a lot of gems. And I found another one. Oh my gosh. It makes me wonder like how long it's going to take me to go through here and find everything. And like I said, I wish I had access to the entire thing. Not only for David O. McKay, but for everybody else. There's so much out there. You just have to go and hunt it down. So we're under this one right here, Missouri. And this has to do with the preparations for Jackson County. It's like, I think there's a lot of people in the church that don't realize this, that the preparation for the return has actually, in a very real way, started. And when I say return, I don't mean the entire church. Again, I'm not going to go over that. Go to my spreadsheet called Quotes, Common Misconceptions. The entire church is not going to go to Jackson County, but there will be a return of sorts, at least as far as like church headquarters going back to Jackson County. And that's what we're going to look at here. So this is an entry in his diary for whatever reason. Maybe it's because he was like a special assistant to President David O. McKay. So much so that he became a member of the first presidency. He became like a third member or counselor in the first presidency. We're talking about Alvin R. Dyer. Just really quick. I know I've covered this a number of times recently, but okay. So first he was assistant to the Quorum of the 12. Then he was ordained an apostle, but not in the Quorum of the 12. And then he became a third counselor to President David O. McKay because he had a special mission that had to do with the church's properties in Missouri. And after that was done, he went back to becoming an assistant to the Quorum of the 12, but he was still an apostle. And then, still as an apostle, he went into the first Quorum of the 70. He had a very, very, very special mission, and it had to do with preparing the church to go back to Missouri. So this is written by him. There's a lot of his stuff in President David O. McKay's diaries. This is Saturday, August 3rd, 1968. Reflections of things which transpired at Far West and Independence, Missouri. I conveyed in both meetings the wishes and love of President David O. McKay to those who were assembled. I was particularly appreciative of the remarks of Elder Harold B. Lee at Far West, wherein he built his short talk around the idea of staying with the ship, quote unquote, meaning to be faithful and true to the end, to the accomplishment of the Lord's work in that area. At Independence, he made a statement which basically is the underlying purpose and intent of the book, The Refiner's Fire. And let's just take a look at that really quick. You can read this for free on archive.org. It's a free online library. And they have a couple copies of this. And it's like President Alvin R. Dyer, he played this like really key role in church history, and he wanted to write it down. And it's called The Refiner's Fire. And it has everything to do with New Jerusalem, as well as Adam-on-Diamond and all the different church sites. Something very, very important and special happened while he was working with President David O. McKay. So, all right, so he just referenced this book. Okay, he says, at Independence, Elder Harold B. Lee, made a statement which basically is the underlying purpose and the intent of the book, The Refiner's Fire, which I have recently had published, wherein he said, quote, listen to this, what we are witnessing in Missouri is the beginning of the preparations to fulfill the revelation from the Lord and the commandments concerning the center place of Zion, meaning the city of Zion, the center stake, the New Jerusalem. Okay, the beginning of the preparations. Later on, the dedication services at Far West and the groundbreaking services at Independence were most satisfying. Ever since I presided over the Central States Mission, I have looked forward to a great emphasis being placed upon that which transpired in Missouri and of its future and destined in fulfilling I think that's supposed to be destiny, and of its future and destiny in fulfilling the work of the Lord in this dispensation. I've been able, under the direction of the First Presidency, to pursue the construction of and the placing into operation of the Liberty Jail Visitor Center. Now, with the beautification and dignifying of the temple site at Far West and the erection of the Visitor Center at Independence on the temple land, the temple land, I feel that the image of these things will be lifted in the minds of the leaders and the members of the church, and I feel that this is important to whatever is needed in the preliminary way for the beginning of the preparations of our people for the return to Jackson County. So really that's, in my mind, it seems like that's what his job was, his special mission in life, this unusual path that he took in these different callings and becoming an apostle and a member of the First Presidency. It had to do with the return to Jackson County. And he has a book about it. Surely the Lord has blessed us, and under the kind and understanding approval and direction of President McKay, truly a prophet of God, these things are beginning to unfold. The Lord knows the future as to the time and place. It is our responsibility to prepare ourselves that we may be ready when the time comes, when the revelation is given for the step to be taken that will place into realistic nature the building of the waste places and the preparing of the things incident to the second coming of the Lord, who will live and reign upon the earth with the administrative headquarters centered in the temple complex in the city of the New Jerusalem in the center place of Independence, Missouri. Surely these past days have been most glorious. Already I see the turning of the tide in the minds of the brethren. There has never been any question in my mind, and surely President McKay has supported and sustained and understands better than all of us why these things must transpire. I feel that appropriate remarks were made by the brethren in all of the meetings. I deeply appreciated personally the presence of these men. President Smith's remarks with regard to the second coming of the Lord, who will come to that very place. Brother Peterson's remarks concerning what was hoped to be done with the visitor center in teaching all who come there of the second coming of the Lord. All of the brethren seemed to measure up to the occasion and spoke under the inspiration of the Lord. So there's so much more on this page, the topic of Missouri on the David O. McKay diary excerpts. So I've already covered a lot of it. It goes into detail about the 24 temple complex. You can find what that was supposed to look like on the Joseph Smith Papers website. And this is it right here. You would have had 24 temples. And we've already covered the fact that it seems that the Independence Visitor Center, I don't know exactly which one of these temples it's supposed to be, but I think it's supposed to be number 13. And the primary temple would have been temple number 11 right here. But the Independence Visitor Center was built to be one of those temples. It was built according to the dimensions that were revealed to the prophet Joseph Smith for the size of the temples, and currently it's being used as a visitor center. I also had the realization as I was making this video that the very first temple of the New Jerusalem was built under the direction of a prophet named David, which makes me think back to the Old Testament when Solomon's temple was built. It was not built by that David because he sinned and he wasn't worthy to build the temple. So it was his son Solomon that built it. But in this case, in the last days, we had a worthy prophet named David, and he's the one that built this first temple, the first of 24. But to finish this up, I just want to talk about President Alvin R. Dyer. He was instrumental in building this visitor center for the Liberty Jail. We went there earlier this year. I would encourage you to go visit this and visit the other church sites. You can go here. You can go to Independence. They're relatively, they're in the same, they're in the Kansas City metro area. It's not too hard to get from one to the other. And then go see the other places like Far West, which is outside the Kansas City area, but it's not that far. This was church headquarters for a while, and there was supposed to be a temple built here, and the cornerstones are under these glass cases. And President Alvin R. Dyer had a hand in preparing this area too. I think that there will be a temple here at some point. You have these 3 slabs with revelations that were received here, but you'll notice that there's this plaque right here. I wish I had a more in-focus photo of this, but it says dedication of improvements and beautification of site, the 3rd of August, 1968 by President Alvin R. Dyer. So his name is there at this monument. And here's one of the cornerstones for the temple. So at the moment, we have something similar in Salt Lake City. Here's the original plan for New Jerusalem. Here's Salt Lake City. Church headquarters occupies these 2 blocks. You have the temple right here, which is in the same location that the primary temple would have been in New Jerusalem. And then you have a complex of buildings. They're not temples. The only temple there is the Salt Lake Temple. But this was just it was patterned after the New Jerusalem. The entire city of Salt Lake initially was patterned after the city of New Jerusalem. Is Salt Lake City the New Jerusalem? No, it's not. Have we been excused from building the New Jerusalem in Jackson County? No, we haven't. Go to my spreadsheet called Quotes, Common Misconceptions, and many church leaders have talked about this fact. And it's in the scriptures as well. I have the key scriptures right here, and then statements from various prophets about being excused. We were temporarily excused, but not permanently excused. And no, Salt Lake City is not the New Jerusalem. And let me just give you this one example. You have President Nelson in his book called Daily Joy, page 150, and he talks about the New Jerusalem in Jackson County. So that is still the plan. And so that makes what we just covered all the more relevant. This was a really pivotal time in church history, and it was the preparation for building the New Jerusalem in Jackson County. Okay, well, that's going to be it for this one. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also, make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.